Hey, everyone. Welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. Andy, the Lakers kick off their very short homestand with a date with the hated Boston Celtics. Boo! And that means we bring on John Karalis, host of Locked On Celtics, to preview the whole thing.
On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts, always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you go to see the podcast happen, see the magic, zooming towards 10,000 subscribers, slightly more, I should note, than Locked On Celtics. With our guest today, John Karalis. Just a little few more, like we have more titles in LA in the modern era. We also have more modern subscribers to this newfangled website.
Let's adjust those sliders. We know how many championships the Los Angeles Lakers have.
Was Boston even founded when you guys won half of your title? So I'm not even sure about that. So we can talk about it. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. First-time users can receive a $100 instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com. Promo code Locked On. As you can see, our guest today so dialed in with the Celtics that he lives there. He lives in the arena. It is a completely empty arena, but he is standing there podcasting. John Karalis, he's the host of Locked On Celtics, covers the team for Boston Sports Journal, and like Tom Hanks in the terminal, just lives in whatever they call the Boston Garden these days.
Yeah.
Welcome.
TD Garden. Yeah, there's the stanchions. You don't know this when you're watching the game, but it's actually a mini fridge. I just open it up.
Nice, man. I mean, you got to be economic with the small amount of space that they've given you underneath the arena.
Yeah, like after the game, I pick up random, chicken strips and French fries, and I just store them in there, and it's enough to subsist on. Plenty of half open beers over there. It's a great night. It's fine.
That's how you get by without a per diem.
That's right. Times are tough, man. Times are tough.
So this is obviously, a huge game sort of in the consciousness of basketball. Lakers Celtics still conjures up things for people. Two teams that are not exactly in the same place right now in the standings, but I'm just curious, as we start, what does this mean in your sense, to the Celtics? These guys are coming here, they're 21-6 as they go into their game on Monday against the Clippers, playing really well. Does Lakers Celtics mean something to those guys?
I'd like to think so. I mean, I understand that when you're in your mid-20s, you don't have that history. But I will say that when you see guys come to the Celtics, they are taken in by the banners. They do walk into the Garden and they see all the banners and say, "Oh wow, okay, there is something to that. There is the mystique." Look, we know who the glamour franchises are in this league. There is a mystique to playing underneath those banners. There's a mystique to playing in the in the Madison Square Garden. No matter what, there's a mystique to playing. You put on that Forum blue and gold, and you are immediately transported back to Showtime days. So I think everybody understands, and you play in one of these cities long enough, you start to see how the fans react to these types of things, and I think the players kind of pick up on that. Do they have the same level of hatred that, McHale had for Kurt Rambis? No, but I
don't know if anybody had the amount of hatred that McHale had for Rambis.
I don't think anything is ever in NBA basketball going to rise to that level again. But yeah, I think these guys understand. They see it when the Lakers come to Boston. I think they see it when they're in LA. There's always just a little something different. The vibe is a little bit different. No matter what station. It's just, these two teams, when they face off, that history is going to be a part of it.
It's interesting though, the difference between knowing the history and respecting the history and feeling it. because, like, for example, we covered the last 10 years of Kobe's career, and that included the 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 2 times they were in the finals, once against Boston when they lost, 2 years later when they beat Boston. And Kobe, who was this incredible student of the game, but also somebody that grew up a Laker fan, like living in Italy. He used to get those VHS tapes of the Lakers sent to him by his grandfather. And he knew that history as a diehard Laker fan as a kid. But he admitted that, like, as a player, it never really meant anything to him in terms of like visceral feelings until that 2008 finals. Because as he said, just rivalries can't mean anything to you until you've experienced them in a tangible way. Like, until that point, he considered the Kings or the Spurs more of a respected rivalry with the Spurs. But that was something he felt as more of a rivalry until that finals. Then once that finals rolled around 2008 and you guys absolutely waxed them in game 6, I mean, they felt it from that point moving forward. But it would be great to see these two teams. It would just be great to see them back in that place again, because then you get the history rooted in something real. If LeBron right now, for example, hates the Celtics, it's because of his time with Cleveland and Miami. Those matchups, like, as opposed to his time with the Lakers, which, more power to him, but still.
Right. There's history there. And look, everybody makes their own history. All of these guys make their own history. So, you see it with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and, Bruins in Montreal, like all of these historic rivalries that we know from around here. But each generation has the team that they say, oh, hate those guys. I hate those guys. And that becomes the thing. The Lakers-Celtics rivalry is kind of grandfathered in, because we all know just every time they get together, there is something about it that means a little bit more. And it is because of the history. It's kind of like the 4th of July. Every year it comes around and you have the fireworks coming up, and we know that it's going to be a big celebration. But what holiday do you like best? Maybe different people have different holidays that they like better. I love it when Celtics and Lakers face off against one another. I use the Lakers-Celtics rivalry to try to drum up subscriptions. Like, we can't let the Locked On Lakers beat the Locked On Celtics here. You can't let that happen.
We did note that we have more subscribers than
you did. Yeah, but I had more, and then you guys went on a little 3-game winning streak, and then we're jockeying. We're right there. I think you have 5 more than we do right now. So
right, imagine if the Lakers weren't 4 games under 500.
I think if I want to spin it, I'm going to say that I have more subscribers per capita.
Maybe we're 1 5-game win streak from total domination.
There you go.
The other thing I want to point out before we break is the 3 of us are awfully close. You mentioned, John, the old men in the rocking chairs talking about the olden days.
Oh yeah,
we're awfully close to like 2008 and 2010, like us being those people in the rocking chairs, which is extraordinarily disappointing. Next, we want to ask you both about this game and also how Boston got here, because good Lord, the offseason looked like it was going to be a thing and something that might scuttle the season before it started. So lots more to come, and we'll do all that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by Prize Picks. Laker fans, if you have not signed up for Prize Picks, you are missing out, because this is daily fantasy made easy. Prize Picks has the best NBA DFS prop game on the market. Prize Picks offers more NBA props than any other DFS prop operator. Superstar players, bench players, just pick 2 to 5 players and predict whether they will notch more or less in the Prize Picks stats projections. Prize Picks offers projections on everything from NFL to women's college basketball to disc golf. Use the award-winning app on both the App Store and Google Play. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. Safe, fast withdrawals. So download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up, play daily fantasy sports, and first-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On again at the sign-up for the instant match. If you are not playing PrizePicks, you honestly don't know what you're missing.
Okay, so typically the Lakers like to lead the league in off-season turmoil, off-season intrigue, and all that. Boston absolutely 100% determined to hold my beer to the Lakers this offseason. Between the rumors with the Nets and then obviously all the stuff with Ime Udoka and everything that came after that, it was a dumpster fire, and a lot of people were worried the Celtics wouldn't recover. They started 4-3, a little bit of a scuffle, out of the gate. They seem to have righted the ship. Why didn't it fall apart, and why are the Celtics so good?
Well, it didn't fall apart. I think you go back to the Durant rumors, and I think that's something that you could easily kind of smooth over with Jaylen Brown. To say, look, we didn't make the trade for Kevin Durant. They called, we did our due diligence. We said, hey, if you're looking to trade, if he wants to trade, what do you want from us? And they say, well, we want Jaylen Brown. And we say, okay, well, that's not going to happen. And you move on. And they can kind of say, players want honesty. So you can say, yeah, they talked to us about you. We had a conversation, but we're not ready to do that. So you can, that's easy to kind of get past. The Udoka stuff, that we still don't know what that was for sure. And might never know, but I contend that the timing of that was actually good for the team. Even though at the time we thought, oh no, like right before the season, oh no. But it ended up being good because they had the Brad Stevens and the owner, Wick Grossbeck, press conference like 2-3 days before media day. Media day was an obvious mess. Everybody was, that was the topic of conversation. And the reason it was good is because they went from that right to the basketball floor. And they said, we're going to keep it hoop. We're going to just focus. We're not answering those questions anymore. We had one day where we all answered those questions. We're done with it. Now it's focus time. And they weren't going to let Joe Mazzulla fail. They had respect for him too, because he's been an assistant there for a few years. I don't think, especially Tatum and Brown, I don't think they appreciated the narrative that was starting to come out of this, where, oh, Ime's the guy that got them to the finals, and now they don't have Ime. And I'm sure like Jayson and Jaylen were like, excuse me, we were on the floor. We were the guys who actually played. Like he didn't beat the Bucks in Game 6. I did. Jayson Tatum did. So I think that there was an opportunity there for them to focus and just say, we're going to rally around each other and put it together on the floor and just and keep it focused there. And that's something that when you come out of a finals loss, short turnaround, that's not easy to find that focus right away. So I think that's part of why they got so good so fast as far as putting the distractions aside. Then you throw in Malcolm Brogdon, who people, before all this other mess, the Celtics were said to have the best offseason in the NBA because they had signed Gallinari, who, okay, he hurt himself. He had the ACL injury. But Sam Hauser stepped up and that they were able to kind of navigate that. But Malcolm Brogdon to come in and play off of their bench has been huge. He's such a dynamic addition to this team because in these second units, now Malcolm Brogdon is your point guard to start the second quarter, where last year Jayson Tatum was running the point with 4 bench guys. Now you've got Brogdon and Tatum, plus Sam Hauser and Grant Williams, 2 shooters who are shooting up over 40% right now. And it almost doesn't matter if it's Luke Cornett or anybody else, but pretty soon it's going to be either Al Horford or Robert Williams. So the addition of Malcolm Brogdon has been huge. The offense from Joe Mazzulla has been excellent. As long as they're moving the ball and not isolating, their offense has been historically good. And everybody's just kind of buying in for the most part. And when they don't, you see games like the Golden State Warriors game where too much ISO devolves into not enough ball movement. You have 17 assists and you lose. So that's basically it.
Speaking of stuff on the court, I was recently on Access Lakers, the Spectrum Sportsnet show, the Lakers TV partner. I was asked to name the most well-rounded player in the league. Like, not necessarily the absolute best, although by definition, that guy's going to be pretty close anyway, but the most well-rounded. So a two-part question for you. I named Jayson Tatum, which I'm sure didn't go over great with that audience, but I think you can make an argument. I think you can make an argument that he is the highest level player in the league with the least amount of weaknesses. That being said, I think if you had to choose between him or Anthony Davis, the way AD is playing right now, who's harder to contain? I would say AD, because I think there are few players in the league that are equipped to deal with AD at his best versus players equipped around the league to deal with Jayson Tatum at his best. Your thoughts on both of those assessments with well-rounded and most difficult to contain?
Well, I mean, I can totally see your point about Anthony Davis being the most difficult to contain. I mean, he's bigger. He's a big guy that has the capability to do a lot. And when he's not just settling for 3-pointers and he's being aggressive and he's healthy, then that's the guy that everyone was trying to trade for, including Danny Ainge, by the way, back when, if it wasn't for Kyrie and the stupid rules, the stupid collective bargaining rules, Anthony Davis would have been a Boston Celtic, and it would have been
no matter how bad AD's dad didn't want it to happen.
Yeah, it would have. I think before Clutch came into the whole thing and said absolutely not, that would have happened in season. That would have happened at the trade deadline, and it might have been Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum. Or, I mean, at that point, it might have been both who went to New Orleans. So I'm happy the way it turned out personally. But back to your thing, like Anthony Davis, like when he's playing like that guy that everybody wanted in the league, there's a reason why he's an MVP level player. Tatum has done it more consistently because he's just been able to stay on the floor more. And he's younger and he's growing into that role. And this is the best we've seen him play. And I think with Davis, there's always that just, okay, how long is this going to last? And maybe some questions about like, does he really want to be in this particular role, even though it's going well? Is he still going to be happy with this, or do they need to do something else? And if they make a trade and they bring back, the Miles Turner thing, is he going to want to go to the, there are question marks there with Anthony Davis that I just kind of say, if you frame it as Anthony Davis playing this way, playing at his best, then obviously he's a top 5 player. He just hasn't played this way or been healthy enough to play this way or wanted to play the position that puts him in the spot to play this way. That's where he falls out of the conversation. So framed the way you put it, awesome. He's awesome. And if he plays like that in this game against the Celtics, that's going to be a real problem. And the Celtics going to have a hard time beating the Lakers like that. Tatum has just become that MVP candidate because he's done it more consistently. He's coming off a game where he didn't do it, but the capability of, to handle the ball, to put pressure on the defense, to move it, to set his teammates up, to rebound. He's rebounding really, really well, to play defense and block shots and start the break. He's doing that really, really well. So it's basically going to be hard for each team to contain the other team's best player. And that's where, obviously you guys have LeBron, the Celtics have Jaylen Brown, who's playing at an all NBA level. And then, so if they end up canceling each other out, now you've got the rest of the cast of characters. And that's where this game might come down to.
John, I don't know what you're talking about. The Lakers have a multitude of wings to throw at Tatum. The team is just rich with wings. I have no idea what you're getting at, but it is. I mean, like Tatum is a fascinating case to me because like there is this just sort of steady ascension just in the scoring numbers, 26.5 points a couple of years ago, about 27 last year, but bumped up his field goal percentage, but this year he's shooting 56% from 2 this year. I mean, that is just a stunning number as he's up around 30 points a game. And and still hasn't turned 25 yet. And so I think I think you're spot on with AD, and the question that I think the Lakers are probably struggling with, whether they'll admit it or not, is whether they trust, not so much can AD play like this, because I think they're willing to say, yes, this is the guy that we traded for. But
Right.
can we trust that he's going to be on the floor? So if we go all in, is he going to be there? I think that is the thing that they, in their heart of hearts, may not completely believe. And the other thing I'll say before we break here, people still talk the Lakers. You mentioned Tatum in New Orleans. People still are angry that the Lakers drafted Lonzo Ball instead of Tatum. And I always reply to them, why? So he'd be in New Orleans now anyway. So there was almost
Right.
no path where,
but
an Anthony Davis trade happens and he doesn't end up there.
You might have kept more of your stuff, though.
Oh, there's no question. I'm just saying,
trade.
but like the idea that Tatum would be a Laker right now, if they had taken him instead of Lonzo, nope, he'd be a Pelican.
Well,
so let's talk a little bit about this game. You mentioned the Warriors game, John, that the Celtics lost. There's a couple interesting nuggets from that I want to ask you about to see if the areas the Lakers might attack. We will get to all of that next.
Locked On Lakers brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net, your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. They got it all at BetOnline.net. And since you love podcasts, specifically sports podcasts, because you are listening to one as we speak, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They got content over at BetOnline. So it's always the fastest, easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today, use your mobile device, learn more about the trends in action. Bet online where the game starts.
So I was looking at some numbers, John, and saw, Lakers playing better. There's no question. Celtics, strong favorites, I would say, in this game, regardless. The Warriors are the play at the quickest pace in the league. They are the fastest, quote unquote, team in the league. They get up and down the floor. Lakers are second. Is that a vulnerability for the Celtics? They are a completely dominant offensive team by a mile, best offensive rating in the league, by a pretty good margin. More ordinary defensively. Are they vulnerable on the break? Because that is where the Lakers are most effective.
Well, I think they are vulnerable on the break. Their transition defense has been pretty good. They were vulnerable on the break against Golden State because of what Golden State was doing. And I think the Celtics were getting discouraged because they had one of their worst shooting nights of the season. I honestly think the Warriors game was such an aberration because and Jaylen Brown admitted it after the game. They played that game like they had it circled for a long time, which means they went in there and they kind of took themselves out of their own game. They played tense. They lost composure. Yeah, they tried too hard, which means they tried to do too much individually. And when that happens, you have a bunch of guys standing around, and when one guy's trying to do too much, the rest of the guys kind of stand there and watch. And when you miss a layup against a fast team, it's outlet, kick ahead, boom, layup. Like that. That's what the Warriors were able to do. If the Celtics are moving the ball, and first of all, if they're moving the ball and they're scoring at their rate, the normal rate this season, that's higher than most. There are going to be less opportunities. The Celtics don't generally turn the ball over a lot. They generally don't miss often enough to make transition buckets a problem. And when they're moving the ball at their best, somebody is generally kind of rotating back anyway and is able to get back and stop the transition. They didn't do that against the Warriors, and it killed them. So go ahead.
Well, I was actually going to ask, speaking of just ways that the Celtics might be attacked or you could attack them, they are the best three-point shooting team in the league right now, whether you're talking about the amount that they've made. They're shooting almost 40% as a team from behind the arc, and they take
and it doesn't
a lot
matter
of
if off the break or corner, they're hitting from both spots.
That being said, though, the Lakers are seventh best in the league at defending the three. Mm-hmm. They've held teams to a pretty respectable 34%, which is much lower than what you guys are doing. Do you see anything as having to give And is there in particular ways that Boston goes about being so successful at three, beyond the fact that they have good shooters? Like, is the way they go about creating them, stuff like that?
It's a lot of ball movement. When the Celtics play that Spurs kind of 0.5 basketball, when they're at their best, that's what they're doing. And the reason why they're shooting so well is they generate so many open looks. I think they lead the league in wide open attempts. And that's when they're at their best. It starts.
The Lakers may be second there, John, but that's because the other team wants them to take over.
Well, yeah. I mean, go ahead, Russ. Go for it. Lonnie Walker.
Run away. Patrick Beverly shooting. Run away.
Yeah, go ahead. But the Celtics generate those at a high rate. And it's, Marcus Smart has done a really good job as the point guard, kind of playing with that pace. And Jaylen and Jayson have done a pretty good job, attacking, kicking, multiple attacks. The Celtics at their best might have hit the paint 2-3 times in a possession and kick it out. And then when you kick it out, you've got Grant Williams, who is an excellent spot-up shooter, one of the best. Sam Hauser catch and shoot numbers are out of control. Derek White shooting, the Golden State game notwithstanding, is out of control. And I think like the Golden State game is indicative of why when you see Derek White not shoot well, you say, okay, how did the rest of that game go? And you saw no flow in the offense, too much ISO, and that directly impacts Derek White. So the best thing you can do now, the main thing that hurts the Celtics is switching defense. If you're switching, the Celtics can easily be baited into matchup hunting. That's been their Achilles heel this season. So if you can bait them into the matchup hunting and stop the ball movement, now you've changed the dynamic of this game. If you let the Celtics move the ball, drive and kick in multiple attacks, you're toast. No one is beating that team. If the Celtics matchup hunt, then they become very mortal.
With the Lakers' size and the defenders they're putting out there along the wings compared to Boston, I don't think they'll have to hunt for matchups. I think the matchups are going to be there.
They'll be paralyzed by optionality.
Right.
I mean, it's one of the glaring weaknesses that the Lakers have. It's just they end up running a lot of lineups. The Celtics are steeped in the type of players just size-wise that the Lakers don't have.
Yeah.
And, they find certain ways to make up for it. Namely, Anthony Davis at times can be the best defender in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no question that the type of matchups that a lot of the Boston players have and those type of wings and stuff like that, they will not have to work hard to create what would be a physical mismatch. It's just going to be there. But
that's a problem for Boston because when they don't have to work hard for that, they don't. And
nice
problem. That's the problem. And that's like, you do want to hear that. Yeah, that's the thing. The Celtics, when they sit there and they go, oh, look at this guy. Oh, all right, everybody just stand back. I got this.
I feel like the Lakers should go sign like a popcorn vendor or something and throw them on the floor. It's like just because it'll tempt them into something bad.
The Celtics have a bunch of guys that are really good individual scorers. And we talk about like Tatum's ascent and Jaylen Brown's ascent and a bunch of guys that they have are when they see meat in front of them, they'll take it. They will take it. But the Celtics at their best are when they are doing what I said before: drive, kick, secondary attack, kicks, third attack, kick, wide open shot or wide open layup. They want to make the defense bend until they break. So if the defense isn't working hard, if it's just mano a mano, and the Celtics don't respect the Lakers, if they say, hey, Lakers aren't playing well, yeah, we know who they got, but we know who the rest of the players are. If they go in there thinking that, then the Celtics will do a lot to level the playing field against themselves. And so that would be my biggest fear as, from the Celtics side, that they see guys in front of them that they think, oh, I can take this guy one-on-one, and they can be. If you watch the game film against Golden State, you say, all right, let's force Tatum to his dominant hand. He'll take that drive Let's show him a lane and then help late and collapse on him. And he won't kick it out because he thinks he's got this. And that late help forced him into a lot of misses at the rim that he hasn't been making this year. So, I mean, he's been making a lot at the rim this year, and he missed a lot in Golden State. So those things are possible against Tatum. And you just hope that he doesn't go in there and try to prove too much. The saving grace is that Tatum in LA is just plays God level basketball. And maybe that'll be enough to kind of counteract the stuff that I'm talking about.
That's something to look forward to for Lakers fans. I was going to say something nice about the Celtics again that will probably anger our audience. I noted the 21-6 record, Monday's results pending, and the 4-3 start, which means the Celtics are 17-3 since that 4-3 start. I happen to think that given where the league is right now, there's sort of an unprecedented amount of parity, an unprecedented amount of quality on teams where you just look at it like teams that are supposed to be bad haven't been able to because Tyrese Halliburton is too good for Indiana to suck, like stuff like that. That said, so I'm really impressed with what the Celtics are doing. Everybody who covers their own team, you get absorbed into everything. You ever look at every little micro thing. The Lakers are playing much better. What is it, Andy? They won 5 of 6. They went out. They beat Milwaukee. They beat Washington. Got injured a little bit. Finished the trip in Detroit. They're playing better. As somebody who only maybe peeks in on the Lakers, sees the highlights, sees games. You're an old guy like us. You don't want to stay up late watching all the games. I don't know what kind of reception you get under Section 102. What time they turn the electricity off. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Do you look at the Lakers with AD playing like this and LeBron healthy and whatever, and Austin Reeves seeming to come around and Lonnie Walker, and look at them as like a team that is legitimate and capable of making noise?
Well, I never thought the Lakers were as bad as their start. They started out much, much worse than I expected. I never thought the Lakers were going to be all that great either. I think they're a middle of the pack team. And now that changes a bit with Anthony Davis playing the way he's playing, because any team that has an MVP candidate on it is generally pretty good and has the potential to make some noise. But as we've said, as everybody says when they're talking about the Lakers, I don't trust Davis to stick around and do that. I either see some sort of leveling off or some sort of thing that keeps them out for a couple of weeks, or they're playing so well, so much better with AD doing this, that they cash in on those 2 draft picks and they bring in somebody that changes the dynamic enough where all of a sudden those opportunities aren't exactly the same for Davis, and it does more harm than good. So there are a lot of ways that this can go for the Lakers. I think, like I said, I think they're a better team than they showed early on. I think this is kind of better. This a better indication of who they are. I think LeBron, aging or not, he's still obviously really, really good. Davis playing like this is where the Lakers do become dangerous. I don't think they're a home court in the playoff team, but I don't think they're a play-in team either. I mean, it just kind of depends on how things go injury-wise. They do have some talent. They do have some obvious flaws. And the question is, what's out there to fix those flaws? And how does trying to fix those impact the team overall? And it's hard to say, because what deals are out there? If you do the Indiana potential deal that people talk about, that does raise some questions about Anthony Davis and how much he continues if you put Miles Turner next to him. If you do one of these other deals, it does raise some questions. How much are you giving up for those 2 draft picks? Are you doing both draft picks? Are you doing something different? Are you trading, Pat Bev? Are you trading Schroeder? How does all that work? And does now LeBron say, you're not really going all in, you're half stepping? And does that upset the apple cart? So there's so many variants here that kind of could take the Lakers season and push it up, push it down, keep it equal. It's hard to say where they're going to go, but I think they're a dangerous team right now.
And I will say respectfully, Lakers fans are going to be skeptical of the Locked On Celtics hosts floating a theory that essentially says the Lakers should trade for crappier players to make Anthony Davis better. It just feels like there's an element of sabotage there. But you know what? I do get what you're saying. But next time you find yourself in Boston, make sure to leave some chicken strips under your seat. Don't worry why they disappear. Ignore that hand reaching up to take your half-empty beer. That's just John Karalis feeding himself. The show is Locked On Celtics. Make that your second listen of every day. Follow the stuff he does for Boston Sports Journal. Really appreciate you taking the time. I know you got another show to do tonight after the Celtics play the Clippers. Yet another instance I might note. It's like the 64th time this year that a team has had to play the Clippers first before the Lakers on the second night of a back-to-back. It is a bit of weird scheduling with the NBA.
It's so weird.
And this is a trend. This is not the first time this has happened. Thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
My pleasure, guys. I do enjoy our banter.
I do as well.
See everyone Wednesday.